Hi and welcome to my channel, and this is going to be a tutorial on how to solve the square one puzzle. And this is not going to be a speed solving method, it's just a regular method. It's a method I had originally learned several years ago from the Twisty Puzzlers channel when it used to exist. And I've correlated certain aspects of that solve to how I solve like a regular 3x3 or 4x4 cube in order to make it easier to memorize. So solve is not that difficult. Technically, I would say it's really 3 steps to solving it, which is first, once it's fully scrambled, first you get it back into cubic shape. Second is you reduce these pieces. You could see these dual pieces, so the large ones and the small ones. So you reduce them into sets of 4 on top and 4 on the bottom, and then you the final step is you place them all together. You could get a parity situation, which is technically more steps, but technically you just go back a step and then you redo a step, and that's that. And also, strictly speaking, I would say there are really only 2 algorithms you need to solve this. Technically, it's 5. I'll explain why I'm saying technically. So one of the algorithms, which is when you're getting it from its scrambled, shape-shifted, position into its cubic shape, that algorithm is very intuitive, and I'll explain it shortly as I'm going to do the solve. And then there's 2 algorithms, for the reduction of these pieces and then solving it. Those are 2 algorithms that I correlate to a 3x3 solve. So if you know how to solve a 3x3, you're going to be able to correlate it. It's just a matter about perspective. Then there's also 2 more algorithms which are very, very simple. And if you solve the cube according to certain principles, like putting the yellow, knowing where you have to put the yellow and the white as you're solving it, then you probably won't really need those 2 additional ones. And they're very, very simple. It's basically, I'll show you them right now while it's solved. So one algorithm, what it does, it switches this yellow face with the white face upside down, basically. And the way you do it is, so first you have to understand how this cube turns. So it's basically, as you can see, it has this long middle layer which turns only on a single axis, which is like this. And it's the top layers that you could turn around, and they could split in many ways. So the top layers you could turn in increments of 60 degrees as far as these large pieces, 30 degrees as far as these small pieces. If you turn it with the large and small piece combined, that's a 90-degree turn. So that's kind of like the same kind of turn as you would have on a regular 3x3. So that algorithm that I'm about to show is, as far as switching this yellow face with the white face on the bottom, it goes as such. So you do a 2R, and then you do a 2U, you do a 2D, and you do 2R, and you fix it. And there you go. You see it's the middle layer is kind of inverted, but the white is now on top and the yellow is on the bottom. You want to switch it back. Same way, while it's in cubic shape, you do 2R, 2U, 2D, and 2R, and fix it. And that's why I wouldn't even really call this an algorithm. It's so simple. And also one thing I'm going to note is that preferably you should be able to solve at least a 3x3 cube before moving on to this. This is a more difficult puzzle to solve, and I would recommend being able to solve certain simpler puzzles before you get to this. So that's the first algorithm, which you could technically say. And the next one, which I'm going to say also very simple, it flips this middle piece right here in the middle layer. Also, once again, if you solve the puzzle properly, the more you solve it, the more you understand how to solve it to avoid the situation where this is going to be flipped in the end. But let's say that it's flipped in the end. It's very, very simple to solve it. I also technically wouldn't really call this an algorithm. It's just so simple. So it's basically 2R, my mistake. That was a 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. And you see the whole thing is solved, except this middle layer is basically flipped. And so it's basically you do 2R and 2U, and you do that 3 times. So to fix this, we do 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, And that's that. So these two algorithms are kind of like semi-algorithms, I would say, that you might need at the end of the solve. But if you solve it in a way where you're not going to need those, then technically you have the three main ones, with one of them being very intuitive, so really two. And those two are correlated to a 3x3 solve. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's give this a scramble. And then we're going to go through a solve. So just try to separate as many of these pieces as I can. Let's see, just like this. What else can I separate? That one. Let's see. Sometimes I feel like scrambling this thing is a little more challenging than solving. In a way, for me, sometimes that's how it is with these puzzles. Let's see. I think I haven't really done that many moves, so I want to give it a better scramble if I can. Let's see. Okay, I turn it around just to make sure. Okay, so that's gonna be our scramble. And okay, so the first thing you do is you get it back into cubic shape, and as you can see, I turned this middle layer like on a 90-degree turn. It's just for aesthetics, because once it's in this position, I can't really turn it any other way except like this. So the first thing is you readjust the middle layers, and the way I prefer to solve it is by holding this right face middle on the middle layer facing me, with this short piece on the left and this long piece on the right. You could do it the other way around, and I'm just used to doing it this way, so for me it's an easier way to solve it. And once I'm going to be solving it, I'm going to be doing it with the yellow face on top and the white on the bottom, because that's how it's supposed to be solved, rather than the other way around and then having to flip it. But it doesn't really make much of a difference. So the first step of getting it back into cubic shape is very intuitive, and what you need to do is get see these little pieces. So you need to get all these little ones on top right next to each other. You can have two big ones like in the back, and all the little ones around here on top, and on the bottom you could have all the big ones. That's the first half of the first step. So okay, so and this is very intuitive. It's just you play around with it until you get it, and yeah, so the more you do it, the more you understand how it's done. So this is just something you have to play around with. And let's see, this goes here. So you see I'm going to be putting this in here. I'm going to be kicking these two out, and so what that's going to do is I'm going to turn this like this, and I'm going to use those two that are now on the bottom to kick this out. And so, but I want these two to come in right here on this side. So in order for them to come in here, I have to turn them to the back over there. And then I put it in. You see I put it in like this, then I turn this like this, and I put these two in like this. Sometimes it takes a little longer, sometimes quicker, and it's really intuitive. You just practice it, play around with it, and you'll get it with time. Okay, so now I have this top and I have this bottom. The bottom, as you can see, has all the large pieces. The top has the two large and all the small ones next to each other. It's very important that you have them next to each other, not like one or two like in between these large ones, like this. So from this position, this is where the intuitive algorithm comes in. So we turn this top face like this, so it's facing, so we could split it down the middle exactly like this, facing us. And that's exactly what we're going to do first. So we're going to split this down the middle. Then we turn this face again, so it's like centralized, so we could split it again down the middle. We turn the bottom one the same exact way. You can see right in between, like you see, have these four little ones. We're going to be splitting right in the middle, on the bottom and on top. So again, we split it down the middle. Now the top one we turn like this, so we're going to split it in between these two small ones. The bottom one we turn in a way we're going to be splitting between the two big ones like this. So the bottom one is turned 90 degrees off in relation to the top one. Okay, so from this position we split it again, and we have these shapes now. You can see these unique shapes. We have this one on top, and we also have the same one on the bottom. They're just 180 degrees flipped from each other, and we basically turn them to face the same way. So we turn it like this, and we turn the bottom one the same way, so they're like one on top of the other, and then we do the final 180, and we get it back into cubic shape. And you could watch this over several times to get the hang of it, and practice makes perfect. Okay, so the first that was the first step out of the way. Now is when we're going to start using algorithms that we correlate to a 3x3 solve. And so the first step we're going to do is we're going to reduce these big pieces, the corner pieces, with these small kind of, I guess you could call them edge pieces. And so the way it's going to have to happen is, for instance, you see here we have one with red, yellow, and blue. So we're going to disregard the blue. We're going to focus on the one that's in front of us, the red and the yellow. And we're going to have to look for a small red and yellow piece, which we're going to have to put here. Or the intention after the algorithm is going to be to place it here, but the way we're going to set it up is a little differently. Okay, so first we find it, and we have it right here on the bottom. Okay, so while we hold the cube like this is our top. This piece right here is on our top left. In order to position, the first positioning portion is we position this red one on the bottom right there. Now we skew this top face 30 degrees, just like this. One small piece, only 30 degrees. The reason we do it is so that when we turn that in, it's not going to lose its cubic shape. So we do a 180 turn. It places this red, yellow right here. So we have the big one here, and we have the little one right there. Now the next step is we turn this in like this, and we look at this piece. And this one has green and white. And so the same way we put this red and yellow in correlation to that one, we're going to look for the small green and white, and we're going to place it in this position right here. And so we look for it. And again, luckily we have it in the bottom right. If it would be somewhere else, we would place it in the bottom right. And so once again, with this green and white over here, we skew the top layer 30 degrees. It's a U-turn 30 degrees. And then we do a 180 to put that green piece in right here. Now we turn this back, all the way back to this red piece, red and yellow that we had here. Now with this red and yellow, we have that red and yellow here, and this green and white, we have the green and white there. And we're disregarding the color on this side, like the orange that's on this side of the green and white, because we're putting in only the pieces that are to the right of the large ones. From this position, holding it like this, the move that we're going to do is, I personally correlate it to the RIDIRD that you do on a regular 3x3 to put in the corners. You could also do it on a 2x2, 4x4, any size. And technically we're going to be doing 2R turns. Like each turn is going to be a 180 turn, 2R, because you can't do it like 90 degrees on this puzzle. But what we're going to do is we're going to do, so I'll explain it as I do it. So holding it like this, in its cubic shape without skewing the top layer, just like this, we do 2R. And then we do, so that's like think of it as an RI, as we would do, like to correlate it to a 3x3 solve. And then we would do a DI turn. And what that means is if we turn it in a counterclockwise direction, 90 degrees. So what that means is we turn it like this. That means 90 degrees on this cube is one large piece and is one small piece. So we turn it 90 degrees. And again, we do 2R. So that's like the R. We did the RI, DI, and now we did a 2R, which is like the R. And then we do a D, which is also 90 degrees. And that's, again, we're turning it the length of the large piece and the small piece. And now, so we did RI, DI, R, D, and now we do it again, which is actually technically 2R, but when I say RI, DI, it's actually like 2R. So it's again, RI, DI, 90 degrees, RI, R, which is technically 2R, 180 degrees, D, and then we do a final 2R turn to return it right there, and you see put the red and yellow with the red and yellow, and it put the green and white with the green and white right here. And we continue on the same way. Now let's see what we're gonna do next. So we have this blue and yellow, and so we want to find the small blue and yellow to put over there. And so let's see where we have it. We have it on the bottom right there, you see. So we turn the bottom face 180 degrees to put it on the right bottom. We skew the top face 30 degrees. We do a 2R to turn that in as such. We look at what piece. Now we turn this as such, and we see we have blue, white. And we got lucky. We already have the blue and white here. Otherwise, we would have had to put it in. Okay, so we turn this back to the one we started with, which is the blue, yellow. From this position, once again, we do that RIDI kind of move, which in this case is 2RDI, 2RD, and then 2R. Think of it as RIDI. So it's kind of like RI, DI 90 degrees, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, 2R to return it, and you see it's reduced this one and it's reduced this one, and continuing on, we have the green and yellow, so we need to find the small green and yellow to put it right here, and we have that right there, so we put it on the bottom right. This is on our top left, and from this position we skew the top layer 30 degrees, do a 2R to bring it in, turn it like this. We have the orange and white. We need to put the orange and white in there, so we find the orange and white, and it's right there. Do 180 to put it right there on the bottom right. We skew the top layer in the clockwise direction 30 degrees, 2R to place this in. Turn this back to the piece we started with, which is the green yellow, and once again we do the same algorithm, which is RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, and do a 2R to return it, and that's done. Next is we have the red and white, and so red and white, we look for the red and white, which is right there. Place it in there, and I think we have a parity. Let me just double check. Yeah, you could see these are solved, these are solved, these are solved, and these are solved. So on the bottom they're all reduced. On the top you could see this is reduced, but we have two that are not reduced. This is the parity. From this position you're not really going to be able to solve it. And this is I think where most people get confused on how to deal with this, and the way to deal with it is actually not that complicated. What you have to do is, you remember how in the first step we got it from its scrambled state where all the small pieces were on top, and we got it into cubic shape with that intuitive algorithm? We basically have to undo those moves to get it back into that shape, do a single turn on the bottom, and then get it back into cubic shape. Now it's going to break up some of the things we did. We're simply going to have to redo them, but it's going to take care of the parity. So basically undoing those moves. So the first thing is holding it in cubic form, disregarding the fact that this piece is out. That doesn't matter. Only focus on the top and bottom layers in correlation with one another, and you can see that they are in like cubic form. From this position we do a 180 turn to split it. We get these two shapes that we spoke of before. So once we get this, we turn one in one direction. You can see it's like an arrow kind of pointing in that direction, and the bottom one we turn in the opposite direction, so it's like facing that way. And now once we've done that, we do another 2U. We get these shapes now, and so what we do is we turn this one like this, and this one we turn with these two pieces right here going towards the back like this. So they're gonna come up on this side, and they're gonna meet up with these two. And like I said, it's a little complicated at first, but it just takes practice, concentrate, and it's gonna get easy eventually with a lot of solves. Do a 2U, and you see it placed these two together, and it did the same thing on the bottom. Now we turn this like this to where all four of these are on the left, and we turn these towards the right, but not like this. We turn them all the way towards the back, so they're like gonna come up from the back, and they come up and they meet with this, and this is the shape we started with before when we were getting it out of its shape-shifted form. With this, we do a simple D-turn on the bottom, only 60 degrees, one of these pieces. So like this, that's it. We solve the parity. Now we get it back into its cubic shape. From here we split it. We set it up, preparing it to split it. We set the bottom one up as well. I'm going to split it in the middle of these four. Split it. We set these up on top to split them like this, but through the small pieces, and on the bottom we're going to split them through the big pieces. So like that, we split them. We have these shapes again, and then we set it up facing the same way now. So this one you can see is like facing that way, and this one we're going to set it up to face the same way that that one's facing to you, and it's back in its cubic shape. And this piece, once again, we disregard. Now we simply redo all those steps that we did. I'm going to go through them more quickly now in order to reduce these pieces. It did break them apart, but we got rid of the parity. So red, yellow, bring it up, green, white, bring it up, this, R-I, D-I, R-D, R-I, D-I, R-D, 2R to return it. Next to blue and white. Blue and white we have in position. Green and yellow. Put it into position. Turn this back. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D, 2R. Let's see. Blue, yellow. Blue, yellow is right there. White, red. Put into position. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D, 2R to return it. And so if we flip this up, you'll see these are reduced, these are reduced, these are reduced, and these are reduced, and the same thing on top. They're all reduced. Now the way I do it at this point, we're basically going to be solving it, placing all of these together basically. So the first step is we put 3 yellow ones on top, properly placed with each other, and this is an intuitive part of this step. No algorithm really required for this. And by putting the yellow on top right away, you're not going to have to do that algorithm at the end that I spoke of in the beginning, where you swap the white with the yellow. So we simply match it up. Each time you match it up, you do have to skew it 30 degrees like this in order for it to maintain its cubic shape. So for instance, you see this has yellow and orange. And let's see if we have a yellow and orange on the bottom. No, because it's here, but it's flipped the wrong way. So let's try it differently. Let's see, blue, yellow. We have the blue and yellow there. So this is in the front left, and this is in the back right. Well, it's in the back right when it's on the bottom. By doing a 180 turn, it's going to connect them together. So it connects it together. And next, let's see. We have a red and yellow. We have a red and yellow here. So this is in the top left front. And you see this red and yellow, it's in the back right. Doing a 180 turn, it's going to put it next to it. It's also going to fix this middle center. But like I said, it doesn't matter because we could fix this middle center easily in the end if we need to. So we do a 2R. And you see basically most of the top layer is solved. We want to keep this one white piece as such on the top layer because we're going to need it for the algorithm that we're going to do. Now, we look at the bottom layer. What this algorithm is going to do, it's going to 3-cycle this duo right here together with this duo and this duo. So in other words, this one is going to go to this position. This one is going to go to this position, and this one is going to go to that position. And this algorithm is also correlated to a 3x3 solve, which as we do with the corner cycling algorithm on a 3x3, which is UR, UI, LI, URI, UI, L. And so we're going to do kind of the same way, which I'm about to show. So understanding how they cycle, we kind of look around to see what should go where and to understand what should connect with what. And at this point, the only thing we want to avoid at this point is putting the yellow one here, because if we put it here and we do the algorithm, it's going to kick the yellow one into here, solving the entire top layer, whereas the bottom one is going to be mixed up in it. We don't want that at this point, so we do not want to put the yellow one over here to the right bottom. Okay, let's see. So at this point, I see it doesn't really matter because it's so mixed up that no, my mistake. What we could do is see if I put this one here, this one's going to be kicked here. Let's see. Trying to understand if, no, they're not going to connect the way I want. For a second there, I thought this blue would connect with this blue, but I don't think it's going to work that way. On the contrary, the red is going to connect with the orange. But anyway, so let me show you. So the first thing to do this algorithm, we're going to skew the top layer 30 degrees clockwise. From this position, we do that algorithm that I said, as we would correlate it to a 3x3, and we do 90-degree turns on every single turn with the top layer remaining skewed. So we do U 90 degrees. You see it remains skewed. So we did a U, and then we do a R, which is actually a 2R. We think we're comparing it to a 3x3, you know, to make it easier to remember. So that was a U, R, UI, LI, which is actually 2L, U, RI, which is actually 2R, UI, L. So all these right and left turns I'm doing is actually 2R and 2L, but I say R and RI and so on and so forth in order to correlate them to the 3x3 and make it easier. So let's see what we have. Okay, so I see if I do it once more, now you see this red piece is going to go here and it's going to connect with this red. And we want that to happen. So let's do it again. Well, this top is skewed like this, 30 degrees. That white is in the back. We do it like this. U, R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, L. And as predicted, you see now this is solved. And now we turn it in like this. And now you see two more steps is going to solve the entire cube. What's going to happen is this one on top is going to go here. This one is going to go here. And this one is going to go up there. And then it's going to go again. So this yellow one then is going to solve it after we do it 2 times. This green is going to end up over here, connecting with this green. And this piece is going to be here where it belongs. Okay, so from this position with the top layer skewed 30 degrees clockwise, U, R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, L. We do it again. U, R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, L. Connected, and you could see the puzzle is now entirely solved. And yeah, so that's how you solve the square one. This is not the speed solving method, but it's a really fun method, easy to remember because it correlates with the 3x3 solve. And yeah, so I hope this is helpful, and thank you for watching.